All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friday Night Prepper Pre-Party Show. If you're in chat already, please let me know how my audio is coming through. If we got any problems, I need to know before we get too far into this. I see several people had already popped in. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you joining us tonight. Got some big announcements. I've got a great guest for us tonight. Let's just go ahead and get right into channel rules and things like that, so we can get this one on the road. If you're first time to the channel, a couple things to keep in mind. We just about anything goes here, but try not to be hateful. Don't be sexist or racist or anything like that. As long as you can obey those rules, we should have a good time. If you have anything that you want to, any shade you want to throw it at me, not anybody else. And be kind to the moderators. Thank you, operator. Appreciate that. Be kind to the moderators. They give their time freely, and we do appreciate you. They have full permission to toss people out, to time out, or even throw you out of the live stream for the night if need be. We don't usually have a problem here, but I always throw that out just in case. Have a lot of new subscribers in the last month, and I don't know everybody yet, so let's just all have fun and play nice in the sandbox. Next announcement here is, of course, you guys have probably seen we passed 5,000 subscribers. And if you've been paying attention for the last month, that means we got something really big happening. I'm not going to say, well, I will say. So we got a guest tonight, and I've got a guest on February 23rd. And I'll tell you who that is. That's Carly Fairchild from the show Alone. So you don't want to miss that one. So that really only leaves one other Friday night, which is next week, which might be a good week to tune in. And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right. So pay attention next week. Look for that notification. You don't want to miss that one. And then you definitely don't want to miss on the 23rd either, because Carly is going to be awesome. We're going to talk about the show Alone and her new projects and everything else. So hope you can join us. And thank you, everybody, for getting us to 5,000 subscribers. We are just getting started, and I am so excited to have such an awesome audience. You all are there every week, supporting, leaving great comments, smashing that like button. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to have in this community. So that's it for announcements for tonight. And if you have any questions at any time during the live stream, please go ahead and throw them in chat in large caps. Just makes it easier for us to catch them. If I miss a question, I apologize. We do our best to kind of keep an eye on chat as well. Thank you very much, everybody. I see the congrats. Appreciate it. And some of you guys are next. You guys are next, because everybody here in chat, a lot of these people here are content creators, especially some of the mods. Make sure you check out their channels too. Great people, and they put out great content. Some of it's survival based, some of it's prepping based, and some of it's not. Some of it's other stuff too. So check out these channels. They've all been very good friends to me. All right. So my guest for tonight is Valorius, who has some content that he's going to tell you about, and just came back from a really awesome trip that we're going to talk about. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you? And yes, that is a real crossbow.
That is a real crossbow. I love it. And let's start with tell us about your content. Where can people find you? What kind of stuff are you doing there?
You can find me on YouTube at Valorius. Very, very complicated. Channel name is Freedom by Me. Started out as a homesteading channel. Kind of evolved into a shooting and a review channel. I do live action short movies. That's eventually what I want to do the most. But they wait, this hand's the one on camera. They cost a few bucks to make, so we got to get a little bit bigger. I just hit 4,000 subscribers the other day, and I'm soaring past 4,100 already. So
yeah, you're growing fast, man. You're doing really good.
Thank you.
And so you and I were talking backstage before we went live about your trailer, which what's the name of that video? Maybe is it Contact Front?
Yeah, Contact Front. It's actually a full-fledged short movie.
Okay, so mods, if one of you all don't mind to help out, if you could go to his channel and grab a link to that one, it's called Contact Front. It's a live action short film that was done with live ammo.
Yes, it was.
And it's really cool. So we want to put that in chat so people can check that out. And of course, scrolling his channel links down on the bottom there, and I also put it in description. So if you're watching this on replay, you can check that out in the description as well. So you're on YouTube. Are you on anywhere else where we can find you?
I have an Instagram that I think I've logged into twice in my life.
Okay.
I don't use Facebook because they spy on you. What else is there?
I don't know, X. Are you on X or Rumble?
I am not on X. My wife is very active on X, but we're going to leave her anonymous because she has some pretty incendiary views.
Okay. And are you on Rumble or Mew or any of those other ones?
I am on Rumble, but I update all my videos there, but I think I might be the only one there. Me and a couple crickets.
Yeah, that's you and I were talking earlier in the week about that, Rumble's got a lot of potential, but it's just they need to get the audience there somehow.
It's the search engine, I think, is the main problem. Every time
Yeah.
I've ever gone on there, trying to find anything is just a nightmare. So
Yeah.
for me, at least, the reason that I don't, because I do not approve of the way YouTube does things. It's their channel. They can do whatever they want.
Sure.
They do not care what I think, but it's not how I would do it. So
Yeah.
I'm all 100% all aboard freedom of speech.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. I worry about this platform and where the future is for content, especially 2A. I think anything Second Amendment, anything firearms related, I'm very worried about that. But even like I make a lot of knife content, and we're starting to see on Meta, especially with Instagram, they're doing a lot of blocking and shadow banning of people who are doing knife videos, right? Like just knives. Knife is not even a weapon, in my opinion. If I want a weapon, I'll grab a weapon. A knife is a tool.
See, now where I'm originally from, Philadelphia, you are not allowed to have a knife or sharp-edged item of any kind whatsoever unless it's directly used for work at work. You're not allowed to have a pair of scissors.
And that's in the United States, man.
It's in the Philadelphia. Yep.
Hard to believe.
It is.
All right. So what got you started into prepping and survival type content?
Well, I was in the infantry a long time ago. So I've always been. I grew up during the Cold War when we had the specter of nuclear war hanging over us every night. You know, anyone in their 40s or 50s remembers going to bed every night and wondering if you're going to wake up the next day. Like I was in during the Reagan and the Bush years, so it was an entirely, completely different world than we have today. In some ways, I would say that the threats we face today are actually significantly worse. But I was just born in a generation where prepping almost was inbred, from birth for a lot of people.
Yeah. So you're Gen X like me.
Yeah.
And it was the duck and cover, or you might have a situation like that behind me, right? And
I think they had pretty much already given up on that by the time me and you were coming up, probably.
Yeah. But prepping wasn't even a word, right? Like growing up, it was just like I grew up and my mom was a gardener and my dad was 82nd Airborne, and he taught me wilderness survival stuff. And then, of course, later on picked up stuff from Boy Scouts and just kind of took to it from there. And if there was any label that I would have put to it, I would have said maybe survivalism or wilderness survival or something.
Yeah, that was the word. Before prepping, it was survivalism, and that was all your Soldier of Fortune readers back then, with the better dead than red and kill a commie for your mommy shirts.
Yeah. And then when I went off to go ahead.
Back in the day when I was growing up, I don't know if we're like you, but I grew up in like inner city Philadelphia. It was like, the ghetto. And there was just violence galore, for every reason, like just violent. It was very violent. I had a very violent upbringing. I saw my first man murdered at age 13.
Oh, man.
But if anybody had told us that they were a communist back then, everyone in the neighborhood would have kicked their ass. Now it's like it's some trendy thing or something. But back then, this was a completely different country.
Yeah. I was fortunate that I grew up in a pretty good neighborhood. I was very, very, I'm still very grateful for the experience that I had growing up. I certainly saw and experienced some violence in my life, but growing up, I was very lucky that I lived in one of those neighborhoods where everybody could play outside until it was dark. And honestly, we took off, we'd go out into the woods, we built forts, we did, bridges and rope swings and all kinds of cool stuff like that. And I had a really good childhood like that. Now, when I became an adult and didn't have any money and had to live on my own, I lived in a pretty crappy area, and yeah, we had gunshots and
Right.
all kinds of stuff until I had enough money that I could move out of there.
Right. Yeah, that was I was repossessor and private investigator for most of my career. So that gravitates you toward neighborhoods where you hear gunshots all night. Like I used to live in a retired firehouse that I bought off the city, and that was in the hood, and it was like a fortress. But every night, you know, once the sun went down, you would hear gunshots all night long. It's just the way of life. Like there's
Yep.
not a person alive in the ghetto today who doesn't have PTSD.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just people who have not lived in that environment cannot even imagine what it's like really like to just be immersed in that.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm actually grateful that when I became an adult, I had a couple years of experiencing that to know what that was like.
Yeah.
Because I was very sheltered from it growing up, so it gave me a lot of empathy for people that are struggling to try to get out of those places, and what it's like to have to get out and go to work, and then hope you don't get shot on your way to the car and that kind of thing. If you
A
were
lot of
lucky
it
enough
is,
to have a car.
yeah, a lot of it is self-inflicted. In fact, like Philadelphia hasn't had a Republican mayor since 1952. So they've been voting for the same people for 75 years in a row. And
Yeah,
at a certain point, you really need to get a clue that,
yeah,
you need to try something different, and self-inflicted is,
yeah. The city of brotherly love, man. Come on.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
So
All right.
anyway, I got out of there when my first daughter was born, once she hit about 2.
That's a
And
good motivator, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I waited till later in life to have kids. So once she hit about 2, I'm like, told my now wife, it's time to get out of here. We got to get out of here. So she had a career that she loved, but she sacrificed that. And as I was telling you, I got ran over for the third time on the job. So got some money, so we bought a house up in the mountains and haven't looked back.
Yeah. Trying to have a little bit of peace now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that chaos has been following a lot of people in modern America with all the stuff that went on with COVID and the deconstruction of the criminal justice system. It's just
Yeah.
when you watch, like I'm not in the cities anymore, thank God, but when you watch the things that are going on now, it is people just walking in and just stealing everything in sight,
Yeah.
and everyone just watches. It's like it's unbelievable. It's hard to
Yeah. Oh,
believe that this is America anymore in a lot of
yeah.
places.
Well, yeah, and there's plenty. This is why I try to get people to go on Twitter X or whatever, because if you're only on a platform like Meta or YouTube where they censor a lot of information, you are not really seeing what's happening in the world. You have to go to places where the freedom of speech is a little bit more loose.
Yep.
And if you go on Twitter X, you will see exactly what Valorius is talking about here, where people are just like destroying stores, taking what they want, and there's a security guard there just watching, like not doing anything. So what's the point of even having a security guard? Might as well
Right.
fire them all.
They change it so unless you steal at least $1,000 worth of goods, they won't even arrest you.
Yep.
And even if they do, there's no cash bail. They just let you out.
Yep. We
It's
even here in South Carolina, we had a case about 2 years ago where a guy had shot up a mall in Columbia, South Carolina. I don't remember his name, but you could probably look this up if you look up shootings Columbia, South Carolina mall. They released him the same day on bail.
unbelievable. That happened.
It's crazy.
That happened in Washington State a few years ago. A guy shot up a mass shooter, but it was not the kind of mass shooting that makes the news. It was the kind that happens in the hood over drugs.
Mhm.
But it was a mass shooter, nonetheless. He shot a 4-year-old little girl
Oh man.
among the others, and they let him out with bail. But I firmly believe that this is all part of a process that is designed to deliberately deconstruct America. So, with the destruction of all our statues, the renaming of all our bases, they're changing the names. Like they take just the Native Americans, for instance, taking the Native Americans off the Land O'Lakes butter and all the sport teams. They say they're doing this to protect these groups or whatever, or to honor. They're erasing these groups.
Yeah.
Like they took Aunt Jemima off. They're erasing these people. It's not. It's
And
very strange
she was a
phenomenon.
real woman, right? Like that
Yeah,
wasn't like
she's
a
a real
character.
woman.
That was a real woman. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife is a black woman, and she was very, 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 very upset when they took her off. Her whole family, they were heartbroken because they grew up with it. You know what I mean? But it's a strange thing. But it's not just that. It's like Trump had said. It's today it's this, then it'll be Thomas Jefferson, and they're taking down George Washington statues, and they took down a statue that was erected after the Civil War ended that was designed to heal the two sides and put them together at Arlington National Cemetery.
Yeah, I saw that story.
They
Yeah.
took that down, or they're planning on taking that down. I mean,
Yeah.
it's in Maoist China when the communists and the Red Guard took over. They implemented something called the destruction of the four olds, which was old traditions, old ideas. I can't remember what the other two are offhand, but it was old ideas, old traditions, old customs, and there's one other one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a specific process designed to remove the history of a nation, to remove the familial bonds, to destroy the nuclear family, which is a key goal. And anywhere that there's a communist revolution, a slow communist, like they don't just happen overnight. These things take decades, and this has been brewing for decades. And you can't. It's almost impossible to ignore it. We're at that stage now. Like, it's hard to deny what's going on.
Yeah. I want to say hi to chat. I see a lot of people popping in. Forager Chick. If I miss anybody, I apologize. I think a bunch of people came in at the same time. Wayne the Ungrateful Peasant, thank you so much for helping out. Maccabeus, thank you so much. William Schlosser, Kentucky, it's always good to see you, my friend.
Hey, William, how's it going, buddy? That's one of mine, I think.
Salty Ham. William's from your channel. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Salty Ham too. What's up, brother?
Nobody Tin Man.
Oh, that's an ex-Green Beret right there. That's
nice. Thank you. Thank you.
One of the great heroes in this nation's history right there.
Thank you for your service, Nobody. John Camper, thank you. Dove Season, it's good to see you always. Forger Chick, I think Spokane Silver Stacker, good to see you. Homestead Aquarius, I think I got most of you. Idaho Garden Girl Lurkin, appreciate you for letting us know. And did I miss anybody? If I did, I apologize. Moonsprout, thank you. Rural 2IC, it's good to see you again. All right, I think I got everybody. All right, so on to, let's see. You got any funny stories from? All right, so let's get into this one next, I guess. You just went to SHOT Show, right? And
right.
Can we explain there might be a few people here who don't know what SHOT Show is. So can you explain that?
So SHOT Show is the biggest industry gun show, certainly in America and very possibly in the world. But it's everything from high-end corporate tactical stuff to your grandpappy shotguns. So there'll be booths that have like guided missile launchers, and then there'll be booths with double barrel shotguns and everything in between. There's it's in Las Vegas. It was at the whatever casino. I don't remember now. The whole thing's like a blur. So much
Caesar's Palace?
Is Caesar's, yeah, Caesar's.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Venetian at Caesar's.
Okay.
And there's like, it's in like 3 separate huge halls. I think there's like 10,000 booths, like, 10 million square feet of floor space. It's unbelievable. So if you like guns, unfortunately, they don't let the general public is not allowed in there. You have to be either a seller, a buyer, like, on a large scale buyer, like a distributor, or media. So that's how I got in, because, the whole social media influencer thing, one of the companies there hired me to be their front man.
Cool. Do you have any idea what the total attendance is? So like I'm going to Blade Show Atlanta in June, and the total attendance there is usually around 100,000, but I know SHOT Show is bigger than that.
I don't know. I mean, it's gigantic. If somebody wants to look that up and post it in the comment section, I would be interested in knowing that myself. Yeah. I will just say huge. It's a huge show, but it's neat. It's in Vegas. So, we did the whole Fremont Street experience, which if anyone here has never been to Vegas, if you get to Vegas, make sure you hit Fremont Street. It's completely free. It's fun. It only takes about an hour or two to walk the whole thing. Really, really neat.
Yeah. What was who had the coolest new product there?
Well, that depends on what level, what context. Like, I was ex-infantry. So to me, on a military perspective, the coolest thing I saw was a remote launcher with 2 Law rockets that could be networked and remote controlled. So you could be sitting back in your command post drinking hot cocoa next to the heater and controlling 100 Law rockets, with thermal imaging that are covering like 50 miles of front. And you're just like sitting back there. In my generation, it would take, you would still have to put a rifle squad at each position to make sure nobody walks up and turns them around. But, in my generation, it would have took a whole division to cover that kind of, actually several divisions. So it's really something else. The technology is terrifying. I saw another thing from a Brazilian company called Condor Drop. It was a drone about the size of a large coffee table, and it had a 22 kilogram payload, and it had 40 millimeter grenades arrayed, 24 of them underneath of it. Now, this one was set up for CS gas, for riot control, but you could just as easily put in high explosive grenades. So, real nightmare fuel if you're into the whole AI is, a threat to humanity and all this sort of perspective. It's if you watch the videos in Ukraine of the drones, that just, as an old grunt, it gives you nightmares watching that stuff. Like, whew.
Well, yeah, fifth generation warfare is here. It's not coming. It's here now.
Yeah.
And the U.S. had that drone strike on the Hezbollah leader, I think, this week, right? And I couldn't remember if it was Hamas or Hezbollah. And there's the same time, like the next day, I read a story about Chinese cyber programs that are, they're gearing up to attack the United States if necessary.
Right.
So that's all 5th generation warfare, basically. And this is without big superpowers really showing all their hands yet, right? Like, so we know that the United States and China and Russia at least have some stuff that we haven't even seen yet, right? Like robotics, things like that.
Well, we do too, I'm sure.
But yeah, I include the United States in that. And I've heard things from people who work in sectors, about like what exists.
Right.
And you can see some of it, like some of it is, you can publicly search it, know, but that makes me wonder, like, they're holding cards back. Obviously that's good tactics, right? Like, you don't show the enemy everything you got. So
I don't really know who the enemy is, though. Like, who is this? Because China's by far our biggest trading partner. It would be, I mean, we could certainly club the hell out of each other, but that would be suicidal for both nations. Even forgetting the military aspect, just utterly destroying a highly successful trading partnership would be idiotic at the highest level. I don't think they want Taiwan that bad that they're willing to just smash their economy over it. But
that would be the thing to watch for, right? Like, if they attack Taiwan, it's probably on. We're probably looking at World War III at that point.
And Russia, we outnumber 10-1. Like, NATO outnumbers in not just manpower, but in aircraft and tanks. Like, it's not the days of the Warsaw Pact that, people think that was Russia, but that was like a dozen countries.
Yeah.
So they had a huge numerical advantage in us back then. But now the tables are turned. NATO actually outnumbers Russia like 10-1. So I don't really consider Russia is, of course, a huge nuclear threat, as we are to them, but they're not a conventional threat against NATO. That is all smoke and mirrors and propaganda. I mean, they wouldn't get 50 miles into Poland before they got smashed. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. So I've talked about this on my channel before, that there's always talk, even the mainstream media and in the prepper channels, about China and there's a lot of political tension with China, but at the same time, I 100% agree with you what you're saying. They're our biggest trade partner. We get so much product from them. We support their economy with our money. It's a mutually dependent, really strange system.
They need our market.
They need our market. I do business with several companies in China. Actually, not too long ago, I was on a video chat with a company from China. And when you talk to the people of China, they have no problems with the people in the United States, right? And I've even had, because I'm a therapist by trade, that's my primary job. I've had students come over from China to train with me to become a therapist, and then they go back to China to do mental health delivery there. And so I'll talk to them like, what's it like? What do people think about the Americans? What do people think about the United States? And, and pretty much everything that you were just saying is what they say, is that, nobody wants a war and we're mutually dependent on each other. If one economy goes down, the other economy comes down with it.
Right.
And,
it's pointless.
So you got, basically what you got is you got a bunch of people at the top of the pyramid that have problems with each other, and if there does become a war, it'll be the people at the bottom of the pyramid who will have to go and shed blood for it.
I wonder if there really is people at the top of the pyramid who, well, of course you have your neocons, and they want to bomb everything, and I'm sure China has their version of that, but I think for the most part, it's a lot of kabuki theater. I think leaders have always and will always. They have to divide us. They have to have a boogeyman, because they have to keep us divided. The old saying goes, they have to keep us divided against each other so we don't unite against them. So there's a lot of that there, that we need a boogeyman. They need a bad guy. Putin, Russia, China. Otherwise, we'll actually pay attention to what they're doing here, which is basically ripping everybody off, just.
Yep. Making it impossible for young people to have a home. Did you watch the interview with Tucker Carlson with Vladimir Putin yet?
I have not yet. However, I have been paying attention to what Putin says, and
I probably wouldn't have watched it, except then the mainstream media in the United States said, please don't pay attention to this and don't listen to a word he says. Well, now I'm gonna watch it because you said it like that.
Yeah, he's been. I've been following as I try and follow as much as I can with all the leaders. But he's been saying for years, and so it's like even in France and some of the other European countries, they've been saying for years that the wokeism coming out of the United States is an existential threat to the West. Like Putin has been saying this. For some reason, I got Mitterrand stuck in my head for France, but that's only because Biden was talking about Mitterrand. The French leader, whose name is escaping me at the moment, the leaders in Eastern Europe, like Poland and Hungary, they've all been saying that, and the wokeism really is based in communist theory. So they are correct. It is a huge threat to our modern way of life.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out, Wayne. I definitely, and I probably wouldn't have until they started saying we don't want Americans to watch it. Well, now you guaranteed I'm gonna watch it, and if there's anything of value in there, I'll probably share it with my audience too.
That's like when Cuomo said a few years ago, "Don't watch it. It's illegal to watch this. You have to rely." He actually said on the air, "It's illegal for you to watch these leaked files. You have to watch. We'll tell you what's in there."
Yeah, right.
Yeah. On CNN, he said that. Fredo.
All right, let's jump back to SHOT Show here for a minute. Civilian legal. What was the coolest thing that you saw?
Well, if you're into hunting and stuff, Henry had a very, very cool lever action rifle that takes AR-15 magazines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
what's that called? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I saw so much stuff, but it won't be hard to find. If you just Google Henry AR mags, it'll come right up.
Is it available now, or is it in development?
I think it's either being released right now, or it's coming really soon. But that's available in either 300 blackout or 223. PSA was the rock star of the show. They had an MP7 clone based on their 5.7 rock pistol that in 5.7 millimeter that looks just like the HK MP7. So everybody loved that. I got to interview their lead engineer about that. Car Arms, who they make a double action only version of the Glock with an excellent double action only trigger, but they kind of fell off the planet once all the 1.5 stack guns came out, like the 365 and the Hellcat and all that. Well, they introduced a double stack gun now, so I guess their meat is back on the menu. There was a lot of really neat stuff this year. What was there? A couple pump action AR-15s. A couple companies had out.
Wait! A pump action AR-15?
Yeah, they've actually been around for a few years, but now
Really?
there's 3 or 4 companies making them.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It's for the slave states. Because if you have a functional semi-auto, you can't have a detachable mag.
Yeah.
Assault weapon bans. But if it's not semi-auto, you can have all the features.
Interesting.
So would you rather have a 10-shot AR with the magazine that you're not even allowed to take out of the gun, or a pump action AR that has every other feature fully intact? So,
Interesting. I'll have to check that out.
But that's what the Henry 30, the Henry lever action with the 30-round AR mags. There was a big year for lever action guns. There was Smith & Wesson came out with a lever action. I think it's the first one they've made since the 1800s. So
yeah, are you a John Wick fan?
It's entertaining. There's absolutely nothing realistic about it at all.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
The last one that they did, I guess John Wick 4, one of the characters had a short barrel lever action takedown gun.
Right.
And I don't think it was a real gun, but I think that that generated a lot of buzz, and that doesn't surprise me if those became hot again.
That would make sense. I don't think I've seen the last one. I definitely saw the first 3. But that's actually a gun. That's the Ruger Alaskan.
It is a real gun?
Was it stainless steel?
I don't think so.
There's actually a real gun called the Ruger Alaskan for people who have a lot of money to spend on guns. That's laminated furniture, 4570, and it takes down. It comes with a beautiful case. Very nice.
The new Daniel Defense pistol is awesome. I got to play with the prototype last October when I was down there.
Yeah, they came out with a new version of the H3 Hudson.
Okay.
Which was a thing a few years ago. And it was actually doing all right. And then they announced that they were going to come out with an alloy version before the alloy version came out. And then everybody just stopped buying it because they were waiting for the alloy version. So by announcing it, they kind of put themselves out of business. And then they had some problems with magazines and stuff like that, I think. But and apparently there's only one part in the entire gun that fits in the original Hudson. So it's like an all new gun.
I saw somebody's video. I don't remember who it was, but there's a flamethrower that you can attach to the underbarrel of your rifle. Did you see that there?
The only thing I have to say about that is any flamethrower that does not use jellified fuel is a toy.
Yeah. Well, and I think this was pretty much a toy
it's a gimmick,
Yeah, and
I wouldn't want to stand in front of it, but it's for rich guys with money who need a new toy to play with, basically.
It's when you want to melt the snow on your driveway.
Hey, God bless them. Yeah, I think it basically is a glorified roofing torch.
Yeah.
But hey, it's America. If you want it, it's not the Bill of Needs; it's the Bill of Rights.
I actually was contacted last year by a company that wanted me to do a review for one of those flamethrowers. But thing is, I don't do a ton of 2A content here on my channel. And number 2, because I now live in a city, I've got nowhere where I could actually do some good tests with that.
Next time they contact you, send them my way.
So I'll send them your way.
I live on a big homestead. I shoot out my bedroom window across my lake sometimes.
Yeah, I will. I'll send them. Send them your way. And even my wife, she was like, "Why didn't you take it?" And I'm like, "Because realistically, I don't think I could do a good review. I don't have anyone near me that I could borrow their property and hey, can we shoot some footage or anything like that?" So, You know, a lot of my outdoor footage, I have to shoot at like parks and stuff like that. And if I bring a flamethrower to the park, I'm probably getting banned for life.
Yeah, you're probably going to jail.
Probably going to jail.
Like that movie Contact Front I made that in my backyard.
Right.
And people who live in cities, they watch my content and they're like, I can't, like they're bewildered. They're like, I cannot believe that this sort of freedom still exists.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I lived in Kentucky for 10 years and I had about 8 acres and I had my own firing range. You could do whatever you want. Yeah.
We don't even have a zoning department in my county.
Yeah.
It's like, it's old world free. It's great.
Did you meet anybody cool there? Anybody famous?
I saw the guys from Tactical Hive there. I know a lot of the guys from the firearm blog. That's the circle that I kind of came out of when I started my YouTube journey. So I know Hop, I know James Reeves, not that well, but I know Luke really well. Online though. But so I saw a lot of those guys. I saw Frogman Tactical there. I was surprised at how few YouTubers I saw, to be totally honest. I thought they'd be crawling out everywhere. Like I thought they'd be, in the woodwork, but I only saw a few.
I think Morgan Rogue Preparedness was there, but I haven't seen her put up any videos about it yet.
There were not many women there in general. Although I will say the Turkish delegation, they had some very finely dressed women there.
Yeah.
Turkish women, apparently, I did not know this, are very stylish. Really good dressers.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Was there knife companies there too?
Oh yeah. Blade was there. CRKT, Benchmade.
All the big companies, basically.
All the big ones. Plus a lot of little ones that you may not have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
There was SHOT Show. Anybody who's anybody is there. So that's like the holy grail. If you got a gun company or a knife company, you want to get there. If you're an influencer, you want to get there. If you're in the gun media, you want to get there. It's like a defining moment in your career. So when you do get there, make sure you double check your cameraman's work.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that or no?
I brought a cameraman with me and he filmed for 3 days and we got home and he didn't take a single video. So the only videos I had were what I took on my cell phone on my lunch breaks.
So you were working a table then?
Yeah, I worked for one of the companies there. I was like their social media front face.
Gotcha.
I was working for a Chinese company, as a matter of fact. And
do you want to shout them out?
Yeah, CV Life.
Okay.
They make all kinds of optics and outdoor gear. There's a lot of reviews on my channel. I would say that it's like solid Sig Sauer Romeo tier gear.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, like in fact, in some cases it's
that's a big compliment right there.
Yeah, well, I think that's like literally typical Chinese quality nowadays. I mean,
yeah,
it is scary how good they've gotten. They've gotten very, very good. I mean, let's not forget they have 3 5th-generation stealth fighters in service. They're building what many people think is the best surface-to-air missile in the world. They're building what many people think is the best destroyer in the world. They have an 11-barrel, 30-millimeter Gatling gun that they put on all their ships. I mean,
yeah.
The whole days of the Chinesium meme and its junk and all that ship has sailed. Like some of the stuff they're building now is just like, I just reviewed a flashlight. I think it's going live tomorrow. That is the most innovative new flashlight product that I have seen in years. So I'm not going to spoil it. If you want to see it, watch my channel tomorrow. But I was stunned how good this thing. I mean, I threw a sucker like 30 feet up in the air and, Yep. Everything's rated for 1 meter drop rating, but this thing was, I threw it 10 meters in the air more than once and it did break. And just the form factor and the features on it were really cool. So in any case, I was there for CV Life.
Yeah. God is great. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. God is great. I have several companies that I work with that I've torture tested some of their products, stuff coming out of China, and it really just depends. I mean, some of the flashlights like Valorius is talking about have been like really, really top tier. People knock on a lot of Chinese knives too. it depends on the company. Like there are some amazing knives coming out of China with like really, really good steel, really good heat treatment.
Yeah,
So
Cold Steel builds a lot of their stuff as Chinese.
yep. Kershaw even I think has some stuff that's coming out of China too. So you got to, it's a case by case basis. I don't think it's fair to make a blanket statement that says
I think nowadays you have to look for junk from China. Like you got to go out of your way to find junk. It's like anything else. I think that they build all this stuff in the same factories and then they just brand it after
that does happen.
They build it. But there's like high end stuff and then there's like tiers. So it depends on your price point. If you want to spend like right now, Hollow Sun, they make the best red dots in the world, period. Hollow Sun is a Chinese company.
Yep.
Forget Aimpoint. You can forget Trigicon. Hollow Sun makes the best red
Hollow
dots.
Sun is good. Yeah, I agree. Hollow Sun is great.
I tested the crap out of them. They're great. Even if you want to say, okay, well, they're comparable. Well, all right, well, then they're comparable for half the price. I mean, Olight had a few misfortunes. A guy put an Olight in his mouth, and it was 18650, and the water leaked into the light, and it blew up in his face.
Oh man!
So that's like a big meme, but like if Olight makes a weapon light now called the PL Turbo, it's 70,000 candela laser, the light emitting phosphor, the new white laser. And generally with those, if you've used one of those, it's like a tight focus beam with hundreds and hundreds of meters of throw, but it's like a really tight beam. So it's kind of tactically challenged. But the new one they're making also has a wide flood, 850 lumen wide flood field with the 70,000 lumen white spot. It's $89. Surefire just came out with a new weapon mounted pistol light. It's 850 lumens. It's $450. That's like 6-year-old technology, and it's $450. It is what it is.
Yeah, God is great. I'm
one last word on this. I want American companies to succeed, but they need to get off their laurels because they've been sitting on their laurels for a long time. And it's like when Japan surpassed us with cars in the 70s. Same thing.
I'm sorry about what happened to you. God is great. I saw your comment there. Yeah, I like Hollow Suns too. I think they're great. And for me, that's not a knock against Aimpoint or Trigicons. Obviously, they're great too. Like it's not, I'm not going to get into the game right there of saying that I rank those. All right, before we start to wind this one down, I did see a question. If anybody else has got a question, now's a good time to go ahead and put it in chat and try to throw it in all caps for me. Bacon wanted to know how far out can you shoot that crossbow with accuracy?
I mean, at my skill level, 50 yards. I mean, if you're a master, probably 80. That's a 175-pound draw. Oof. And in fact, that has a Chinese red dot on it. That has a Sig Sauer Romeo Zero Elite on it, which is Sig Sauer's best red dot for pistols. So.
Oh, is a snowblower God is great. Oh, geez, man, that sounds like an awful story. Oof.
Yeah, I can't speak to the quality of their snowblowers.
Yeah, I mean,
that's out of my wheelhouse.
But that sounds truly awful. I'm so sorry. All right, let's give people a chance to throw up some questions here if they got them. Firearms, prepping, anything you want. We'll do our best to answer it. Obviously, Valorius knows a little bit more about the firearms than I do, but I know a little bit too. Let's see. What have you got coming up that you want to promote? What kind of projects do you want people to know about?
Well, I'm in the shooting phase of a short film that I'm making right now called The Event. It's like I got hooked up with Miro Safety. They make all the CBRN and radiological, biological, chemical stuff. So I'm hooked up with that company now. So, as part of that whole process, I'm making this movie called The Event. It's a short film, post-apocalyptic. I got a couple other people that I'm working with, other YouTubers in different parts of the country. So we're all going to film segments, and then I'll edit it all together, hopefully into one coherent project at the end. But that's probably still a couple months away. Mainly now, I'm doing a lot of review videos. That's when you're a channel of our size, that's where the money is reviewing products. It's not what we're making from YouTube.
Yeah, no, the ad revenue is garbage.
Yeah, it's not even worth mentioning.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple questions here. So Bacon wants to know, what would be your first SHTF meal? You go first, and then I'll answer.
Well, if you watch my breakout bag video I just did for Alps Outdoors last week, when I was at SHOT Show, the booth right across from us was the Cody Firearm Museum, and all week long they were giving out this fantastic beef jerky, a Wyoming beef. So I got a whole bunch of those. So nice. That would be my number one go-to right now.
Okay. For me, I'm gonna say that before I started like relying on my foraging and stuff like that, probably the best of what I've got, because I've got a lot of different things here. I've got MREs, I've got some Augustin farms, but Mountain House, for taste wise, I gotta say Mountain House is bomb.com. It is really good. All their stuff is really good.
Like just in general, canned food. It's so cheap and it lasts for 100 years. So
yeah.
Canned ham, canned bacon, canned tuna and chicken is all really, really good, and it's inexpensive. So,
yep. Don't forget to throw your peaches in there too. Canned peaches are awesome.
Absolutely. Canned fruit of all kinds. Canned food is fantastic.
Yep. All right. What is one thing that comes to mind lately to have that is a lesser known item? Oh, that's a good question.
In what context?
So like a prepping item, I think.
Well, here's one for fire starting, which is always a very important skill. It's a skill that mankind has had for the last 30,000 years. And people talk about, their ferro rod and their tinder bundles and all their various fire starters. Keep some plastic. You want to start a fire in any conditions, no matter how wet it is, you keep yourself a couple plastic forks or spoons in your pack for that purpose. I have a hairbrush that I use, and the handle broke off it, and I was getting ready to throw it out. I'm like, you know what? I'll bet you this thing burns great. And I just did a video on this the other day, and I lit that up, and within 10 seconds, that sucker's cooking. So plastic. Keep some plastic in your get home bag, your survival equipment, because if you want to start a fire in the cold, in the rain, in the wet, plastic cannot be beat.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say a good quality water filter, and the reason I'm gonna say that is, number one, water is like your most important thing. Like you're not gonna make it very far without water and oxygen. But the reason I say that is I contribute to and read a lot of prepper forums, and I see over and over again people say, "Oh, you just have to boil water." Well, boiling water doesn't take out hard metals. It doesn't take out a lot of contaminants. It will kill chemicals. It will kill the pathogens. So we'll do that, but it's not necessarily always going to make your water safe. So
what's your go-to filter? What's your preferred filter?
I would love
Sawyer Mini kind of guy.
Yeah, I like Sawyer. I've got my hiking one is a Grail. That's what I use when I go hiking. But for home, like a Sawyer Squeeze. I would love to get a Berkey. It's a big expensive push, that's a big ticket item. So I haven't made that yet. But
one pro tip for your audience: if you have something like a Sawyer Mini or one of those filters, once it's wet inside, if it freezes, it will destroy the filter elements inside of it. So be very careful once you have used it, not to ever let your filter freeze, because it will destroy the filter elements.
And then you're screwed. That's smart.
Especially if you don't know that.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to operate thinking that you have a functional filter and you don't.
Kentucky was asking for a little bit more of your backstory if you want to share it.
Grew up in Philly in the ghetto, broken home. Dad was a cop, lunatic. Mother was a great woman, raised me the best she could, ran the street, a lot of gang activity, very violent upbringing. Joined the infantry at age 17 because my friends started dying. Did that whole thing, got out, went to school to be an auto mechanic, hated it. It's a terrible career, very dirty job. But through that, I was able to make contacts, and that's how I got into the repossession field. And that, I love that. That was like going on safari every night, an urban safari. You're out there hunting for wild lions, tigers, bears, and Mercedes.
Yeah.
And it was a different world back then. Like nowadays, everything's GPS. You know, they know right where to come get you. Back in my day, this was before any GPS at all. So we were navigating with city maps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's nothing in the car telling you, "Hey, I'm here. Come get me." You had to use, trickery and chicanery to get that job done. It was the Wild West, and I loved it. But
yeah, man, I can't imagine driving around in Philly to take somebody's car, like the danger that people can't understand, like the level of danger that's involved with that.
you know what's funny?
Yeah.
I have been shot at, but for every time a criminal's pointed a gun at me in my life, I've had 10 cops point guns at me because people are very dishonest, and they will call when we're out front taking a call the cops and say that there's people
Someone's stealing my car.
No, they're home invading. Like we were in a drug corner one time in North Philly, which is like the Wild West.
Yeah.
And there was like a drug corner, and we're walking around with body armor and big shirts that say recovery agent on it. So we shut down their business for like, a half an hour while we're searching this parking lot. Well, they were furious. So they called the cops and said there's a bunch of white terrorists with assault rifles and body armor.
Oh, geez.
So we got surrounded by, it was at Temple University. It's a big university. So the whole Temple Police Department surrounded us, guns drawn. I talked to them, got them to calm. They leave after about 40 minutes, and Philly Police Department shows up, because their response time sucks. So it was the whole thing all over again. But I had about 50 cops point their guns at me that night in a 1 hour span. It's just, I bet that you have a lot of concealed carriers in your audience who conceal carry because they want to help society, and they would do what they could to stop a mass shooting and all that. If you're ever in that situation, keep in mind that when the police arrive, the only thing they know is that you're a guy with a gun.
Yeah.
So be very, very, this is why I don't approve of truck guns, because the concept is great, but that cop who's arriving on the scene is just going to see a guy with a rifle, and American police are not known for the restraint. If you get to drop it, it's probably going to be as he's opening fire. So just if you're a concealed carrier, keep in mind that police officer rolls up on the scene, he's going to look at you, and he's going to think that you are the reason he's there. So get that gun put away as soon as you can. Put it down on the ground, stand on it, because that's another thing. If you're in the hood and you put a gun on the ground, someone will run up and steal it.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
So you got to literally stand on the gun to make sure no one steals it.
Yeah. I think I saw another question here, and then we'll make this the last one. Somebody was asking for opinions on the potassium iodide for radiation. What do you think?
Well, one thing that a lot of people don't know about that is if you're over a certain age, I think it's around 40, it doesn't even do anything because your thyroid stops absorbing potassium once you hit a certain age. So that's really for younger people, and that is effective. I do have some old NBC training, but I have some NBC training from my time in the military, and that is effective, but it's only effective against one type of radiation poisoning. So activated charcoal is really good. So if you can get your hands on some those nuclear biological chemical suits, even old ones, even surplus ones, it's the activated charcoal inside of it actually breaks down radioactive particles.
And you mentioned Mirror Safety before. I'm also a brand affiliate with Mirror Safety. They make it for civilians gas masks, some of the best in the business. They also sell the potassium iodide if people are wanting to get some, and it's very, very affordable. And right now it's available. If if things start going kinetic, then
Yeah.
that stuff will start selling out fast. So for the cost that it is, I would say it might be worth getting some, especially if you've got kids in the house and stuff. But you probably need like a full kit, right? Like you
Right.
probably need a full NBC kit. And I've talked about that. It's not just about nuclear bombs. You got to think beyond that. If you live near railroad tracks, if you live near a port, if you live near some factories, there's a chance that you could be exposed to all kinds of different chemicals, right? So there's a lot of good reasons. Ask the people in Palestine, Ohio, why it might be
DuPont,
a good why it might be a good
DuPont in
idea.
India in the 1970s. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've heard that story.
Mm-hmm.
There was a insecticide plant in India in the
Yeah.
1970s, and there was an explosion. I think it killed 30,000 people when the
Mm-hmm.
insecticide was released into the, whole families, just whole neighborhoods wiped out. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we live in a very industrialized society, and many, many, many of the chemicals that we rely on will kill you very quickly. But another thing that's very important that a lot of people overlook, it's great to be a prepper. It's great to want to be prepared. You have to use the gear.
You got to train. You got to
It
train.
practice with it, even if you're in your backyard.
Yep.
When you go out and garden in June, put your gas mask on. It's different.
Yeah.
It's hard to breathe. It's a
Yeah.
totally. So if you think that you're going to just apocalypse hits, you're going to throw this gas mask on and then go exert yourself in July, you're
Yep.
going to die of a heat stroke. You need to familiarize yourself with this equipment. You
Yep.
need to realize that you have to pace yourself. All the, like, if you have a fire starter kit, make sure you've used it.
You know how to use it, yeah. And if
Make sure-
everybody out there with a bug out bag, strap that thing on and go walk 5 miles.
Yep.
You can do 5 miles, try to do 10. See
Yep.
how it feels. If you can't do 5 miles or 10 miles with your bag, you got too much stuff in it.
I always say you should strive for a bag that's no more than 15% of your body weight.
Yeah.
Which is doable.
And also just the, because I did this last year, I'm due to do it again actually. Walking on pavement or a track, yeah, that's still something you're still testing yourself a little bit. Go on a trail with like mixed elevation on a humid day, and now you're starting to, or a rainy day, now you're starting to simulate some different conditions and stuff like that. And I think there's that fantasy of like, I'll strap on my backpack and I'm going to go live in the Appalachians. No, you're not.
First of all, the people in the Appalachians don't want you there.
Yeah, and there's going to be people who are not going to welcome you. Yeah.
If God forbid the grid went down or something like that, and a bunch of city folk who those people barely tolerate in the best of times start showing up, it's not a good plan. If that's your plan,
Stop.
make a different plan.
Yeah,
because that's not a good plan. But you can bug in most places. If you're in an apartment complex, it's going to be a huge challenge, even if you got every kind of piece of equipment known to mankind, because if there's a fire in an apartment 10 units down, the whole thing's going up.
yeah.
If the fire department ain't coming right away, your whole apartment complex is going up. If you're in a row home, so even if you're in a city, try and strive to get yourself into a single dwelling or a duplex or something like that, But out in the country is where it's at, man. I absolutely love the life out here. It's great. And it's actually cheaper to live out here.
Yeah. Well, I tell people if you're thinking about bug out as part of your plan, like maybe it's your plan B or your plan C, your bug out should be to somebody's house that you've already made arrangements to that's further away from the X, wherever the damage is happening, wherever the tragedy, the catastrophe, whatever is happening, and you want to get away from that because there are situations where you might have to bug out. You should have, like, we have people that we know, like, I can go here or I can go here. We've already talked to them. We've had those arrangements, and they know they can come to us if the problem's on their end, right? So those conversations need to be had in advance. But But even with all my survival skills, my foraging skills, things like that, I'm not bugging out to the woods. Like that's
Right.
not my plan, you
You
know?
got to realize if you're bugging out and you don't have somewhere firm to go, the word for that is refugee.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be a refugee because no one cares about a refugee. You know, that's a very unforgiving thing to be. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Make sure if you guys haven't already in chat, if you haven't done so, please consider giving me a thumbs up for this video. And more importantly, please make sure you go over and check out Valorius's channel. It is Freedom by Me. And we have put the link scrolling down the bottom, and we put a link in the description, and it's been in chat a few times. So you should be able to find them. And go ahead and give him a subscribe. Make sure you check out that video, Contact Front, right? Is that the name of it? Contact Front.
And for all the people from my channel who came in here, thanks, guys. And shout out to Tin Man. If you're still in here, you want to talk about a rucksack, rucking machine. That brother, he's 61 years old. He could carry me and you for about 20 miles.
Yeah, he just said that on one of his comments. That's awesome. I love that you're staying in shape, brother. Thank you, everybody. And go ahead. Sorry.
He's ex-special forces, and he trains a lot of the nation's best to this day. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, really good dude.
And for you and Tin Man and everybody else, I know there's a few other veterans in the chat because I know who they are. Appreciate you. Can't say that enough. You guys, you do something that it's a debt that we civilians can never repay. I am not a veteran. I've talked about this before. Sarge is just a nickname. But veterans, my dad was a veteran. My nephew is a veteran. And you guys, I can't tell you how much we love and respect you. People should be saying that more. And I know sometimes it makes you uncomfortable, but it's important that we say it too. So thank you. Thank you.
It was our pleasure, man.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody in chat. I hope everybody has an awesome weekend. Make sure you get outside if it's not like tornado season or something going on for you. Try to get some fresh air. More importantly, spend a little time with your loved ones. Give them hugs. Tell them you love them, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us.
If I may quote the inestimable Grand Thumb before we go, get outside and train, because if you are not fit, you will die.
Yep. In a million different ways too. All right, everybody, keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Valorius and Prepping with Sarge.